having somebody who can look at your game film and actually tell you projection wise, where do our coaches potentially going to like you the most, how to organize your highlight video that way can be the difference between coaches not responding to any of your outreach and coaches responding to all of your outreach, right? It makes a huge difference. How to Get a College Football Scholarship, a series where we evaluate active high school football players, break down their game film, share with them what they need to do to make their highlight video better, rearrange plays so that coaches actually look at it, respond back to the athletes when they do outreach, as well as what divisions they have the best chance of earning a scholarship in. And most importantly, what they need to do in order to get to the next level and the next division. And here with me today is our head football coach here at Next Play, Brian Overton, who has 15 years of Division I recruiting experience. And if you'd like to see if your son meets the criteria for a professional evaluation, I'll leave a link in the description below. Brian, let's jump into it. Share with me the athlete, position, and tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, I got a really good young player again this time. I had a little flurry of these guys here lately. Some younger guys. When I mean younger, I consider a younger guy like older than 2026, so not 25 or 26, but like 27, 28. This
Yeah.
kid's a two-way player, offense and defensive lineman. He's a 2027. He's about 6'3", about 230 pounds, so a really good size young player that plays edge and tackle for his team. Really enjoyed watching his tape. For this one, I had some recommendations. We had some recommendations for him to move around some plays. I will say before we get into it, I personally like him as a defensive lineman right now, where he is based on his tape. Personally, he does have some, and I'm gonna preface it. I'm prefacing it with that because I'm gonna coach more off the defensive line clips that we're talking about because of the way I feel and the way I'm projecting him. But and we're not going to see much of his offensive line tape. But that is not to say that his offensive line tape is not good because he does have some nice offensive line stuff on there. And it would not shock me because of that. If he got recruited either both ways or if one team liked him more on the other side than the other, I wouldn't rule that out at all. And before I get started as well, I did suggest that he group these together. They were mixed in there, offense, defense. So I wanted to cover that before I start the tape too. I suggested because I liked him as a defensive player, I suggested that he group the defensive plays together in the front and then followed by his offensive clips. So and the reason we do that for our viewers and listeners is because if a team is recruiting you on one side of the ball or the other and say they do like him on defense and not so much on offense, you want to be able to share the tape with, say, the defensive line coach, and you don't want him to have to skip through offensive plays. So, like if the first two plays are defense and then you got two plays of offense, then a play of defense, and then a play of offense, it just makes it much easier for them to evaluate if all the defensive clips are together back to back to back. It saves them time and it lets them evaluate you back to back, whether they're looking at technique or size or whatever they're evaluating at the time. It just makes it much easier not having to skip through the other side of the ball. So that's why we have guys group plays together if you're a two-way player. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to
And
put that out
and
there.
I appreciate you sharing that, Brian, and also the fact that like having somebody who's evaluated thousands of players, and at every level, even of Division One, right, FCS, G5, as well as the Power Four in the SEC at the highest level. Having somebody who can look at your game film and actually tell you like what do you projection wise, where do our coaches potentially going to like you the most, how to organize your highlight video that way is can be the difference between coaches not responding to any of your outreach and coaches responding to all of your outreach, right? It makes a huge difference, and we've seen it with our guys. So I appreciate you pointing that out, Brian, and also just making it clear like knowing what to put in the front. And then obviously, even with the defensive plays, Brian, you're going to break down like of those defensive plays, what are the most important plays that need to be
Right.
at the top of this video verse. So
Yeah.
all of this
And
is
it,
really
and it
important, guys. So
Yeah, and it affects like I said, your overall evaluation. Some coaches, I mean, just being fully transparent. I've worked with a ton of them. Some of them just don't have the patience. Like, that's not a good trait. That that's probably not an excuse, but some of them are
Yeah,
like
but
that.
it's true.
If it bounces around, offense to defense, they just get frustrated, and if you just don't blow them away early, I mean, they're going to move on. So we're trying to keep that from happening as well. So those are just some of the things we have, guys do when they send in the evaluation that we hope, can help them, maybe get over the hump, or like you said, get more bang for their buck with their outreach because their tapes ordered properly. So let's jump in here. Jump in here on Owen. So I've got it started here. This is his very first play on the tape, and I like this play. This is part of the reason he got me kind of going. There's a perfect example. This is the reason he kind of got me going on the defensive line side, because I really liked this first play. Now they don't get him blocked, but I was looking more at like his get off, his athletic ability is at his size, getting off the ball, getting out of his stance at that size. He covers a lot of ground. He's a long strider. You don't expect him to look, necessarily like a, a track star there, but just the ground he covers, the physicality that he finishes with. I
Mhm.
really like that first play. And here's something that gets evaluated, guys, that people don't talk enough about. Okay. All right, I'm gonna pause it right here. What I want you to look at right here that goes unnoticed, maybe to someone that's just kind of watching the tape, that tells a lot about the kid. I want everybody to watch his reaction here, after he makes his play. This kid's passionate. The other thing I took notice of, and again, this may seem small, but this is just from, many years of watching tape. His teammates like him, like they want to celebrate with him. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
a big deal. Okay. That's a big deal. All right. And so that's the reason I really was okay with even that being the very first play on the tape, because it shows athleticism. It shows his get off. It showed his physicality at the point of attack, but it showed the passion he played with. His teammates wanted to celebrate with him. So that tells they really like him. It can tell you a little bit about the kid too, little stuff like that. In my opinion, not everybody agrees with that, but it served me pretty well over the years, when trying to get an initial evaluation on a kid, especially a young player like this. He's really passionate and plays hard. Okay. So the next play I want to skip down to here is play at 53 seconds. Okay. He's playing edge again here. Obviously, again, his get off is good, and it's a little bit of change of direction here. Okay, if you're not very athletic here, this guy's going to run through this arm tackle. Okay, so he was able to lean in there, run the hoop a little bit, kind of get on top of that block, and still make that play behind the line of scrimmage. And it also shows strength to be able to get this kid on the ground. Remember, guys, this is a sophomore now. It shows strength to be able to, he had a little help there at the end. Okay, but he showed some really good characteristics here on this play that I thought needed to be moved up, because of one of his better plays. It shows a little bend. It shows the get off. Okay, it shows the strength to be able to get the guy on the ground, or at least hang on till his buddies can get there. Okay, so I had him move this up into his top 3 or 4 plays, and then I'm gonna skip down here to 130. Let me back it up a little bit more than that. Okay. He's playing edge again here, and I'll stop it right here. Another thing that we gave him on his evaluation, guys, was he didn't arrow himself or circle himself early enough sometimes on these plays, so
Yeah, it's too late.
he was already out of his stance and things like that. You want him to be able to evaluate you from pre-snap, before the ball snap, because some of them in a defensive lineman's instance, they want to see your get off, they want to see your bend, they want to see what you look like in your stance. Those things are evaluated. So always make sure that you arrow, circle, whatever you're using, well before the play's taking off. So this one was a good example of he's already kind of in the backfield, as you can see when the arrow was put on him. So I'll back it up again to try to get it full circle here. But they bumped him down inside a little bit now. They've got a guy outside of him, but on this one, I love it because he shows his power. He changes the line of scrimmage immediately, knocking this guy back. Okay. And then he tracks the ball down the line of scrimmage and makes a tackle for a loss. Okay. It shows effort. It shows power. He's playing with good pad level here. He's playing with a really good motor. That's a really good play for a young player that I thought he needed to have up in the top 3 or 4 plays. And then there was one down at 235 that I want to get down here to, that I felt like this was the other one that I felt like really needed to be in the top. This one's very similar. He's in a 9 technique out there. Again, you don't see this kid play very high. That's a very good characteristic for a young
Yeah.
player. like this, especially with that length. At 6'3", that young, they tend to want to stand up. See how low he plays right here with good pad level, makes a big hit behind the line of scrimmage for another tackle for a loss. So again, it shows his athletic ability. It shows his get off. It shows his power making the tackle behind the line of scrimmage, and he was playing with really, really good pad level. Okay.
Yeah, and at
So
six
those are
three,
just,
getting
yeah,
low like
yeah,
that and not just bending.
he's 6'3", 230 pounds. So those were just a handful of plays that I had him move up, kind of with some other ones, some other D-line clips that he had. But those are some that were kind of scattered about that I felt like definitely needed to be in the first 5 or 6 that he had on his tape, and then following those with the other D-line plays, and then adding on the offensive tackle stuff right behind it.
Love that. Okay. And so based on obviously you when you did his evaluation, you did an entire evaluation. We went through the plays, we went through all of that. Obviously we don't have time to do that on here, but what levels based on his entire film and do you feel he has the best chance of getting a college football scholarship at this point in the game?
Yeah. Based on the full body of work of tape, another thing I'll say about his tape while we're talking about that, it's a little over 4 minutes. I think it was perfect. Like he did a really nice job pulling out plays that, truly show off stuff that translate to college football, even on his offensive tape at tackle, so he did a nice job, not putting a bunch of routine plays on there or things we didn't have to take any plays out. Like he had a solid 4 minute tape, 4 minutes some change tape, which was right in the wheelhouse for a kid like this. But having said that, on the full body of work, I think for a variety of reasons, one, his size factored into these divisions. Again, at 6'3", 230 as a sophomore, that's a really good size edge, as a senior, to be honest with you. If you're coming out of high school, he may end up being 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds. And now we're really changing the game. If he gets better at some of the things I'll talk about later. But his size factored in heavily. His grad year, because he's got two full more years of all season. He's got 2 more full years of tape that factored in. So his upside factored in heavily. And then just the position he plays with the motor and some of the characteristics he already has that I think are going to get better. I think based on the tape where it sits right now, we gave him a grade of Division II FCS that we feel really good about right now. Him targeting with his outreach, but also as a top tier of G5 on the camp circuit this summer to try to get on some boards early and kind of make a name for himself at that level. So I think we're projecting him out as a FCS G5 type player right now. If he gets better at a lot of things. And his tape gets better and he gets bigger, but we feel really comfortable with the outreach and getting started at Division II FCS to try to get him some momentum and get him some reps in the outreach.
Love it. Okay. And what do you think he can do? And I know he's younger. What are some things you think he can focus on um, that will help him get to the next level? Obviously, not including the business side, not outreach or marketing or anything like that. Just
Yeah.
solely as a football player.
Yeah, he's got some good young power, so you can tell, he's in the weight room and he's lifting and things like that. I think that needs, if he's going to project as an edge and a D lineman in general, that needs to get better and better. So he needs to keep getting powerful, keep getting more stronger, because this is a big sophomore, guys. If he continues to get bigger and bigger, he may end up projecting as a three technique, a little further down the line. And for people that don't know what a three technique is, that's he's playing edge right now, which is outside the end man on the line of scrimmage in the defense or an even front defense. The bigger you get, obviously, they bump you down inside. He could grow into a three technique depending on how big he gets. So the power will become more and more, of a necessity. The closer you get to the center in there, and the more traffic's in there, the bigger the bodies get. Obviously, and you got to be able to move people. So he needs to continue to work on his power. He plays with good pad level right now. He'll need to continue to
Yeah.
do that. But I did put on there hip flexibility. Huge. We got him. Really focusing on the stretching and the hip flexibility, because if you can play with good pad level like he plays with and be able to change directions, which you see a little splice of in there, kind of like the second play I had him, when he came off the edge and he kind of had to
Yeah.
run the hoop a little bit and make the tackle. The better that gets, being able to change direction back there, chasing quarterbacks and running backs final line of scrimmage, that'll be huge. And then just keep getting just the basics, bigger, faster, stronger. All that combined. So it wasn't anything like really out of the ballpark. It was really just the basics and the core stuff that I think as a defensive lineman, will help him if he just continues to do that. I think he's just going to get better and better and better, and his tape will get better every year.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree. I think got a really solid player here with a lot of big upside and potential. It's really going to be in his court and depends on what he decides to do from here, but definitely a lot of opportunity and a lot of potential. So, appreciate you all being here. Hope this video provided you value. If it did, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. And if you would like to get a professional evaluation for your son and see if he meets the criteria for one, I'll leave a link in the description below where you can apply. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.